Hi there. Breaking news on the list of episode directors for House of the Dragon Season 2. I thought we'd have a confirmed list of what directors they're using weeks ago, but here we are now. And this isn't 100% confirmed. This is preliminary, but I consider it a step above rumor, or it's strongly rumored, because the source is Redanian Intelligence. The major fan site for Netflix is The Witcher. If you follow my channel, they have consistently been reliable throughout the entire filming of House of the Dragon Season 1. That they have established through their track record that they have contacts with people who are in the filming industry, people who see casting sheets, they have reliable casting rumors, people who see production schedules that have director names on them. So they have established they know people who are in a position to see these things. That's why I'm comfortable passing it along. Now, what we already knew is that Miguel Sapochnik will not be returning for Season 2, and in his place, they're going to have Alan Taylor. And I've already covered that in other videos. We're not sure on the specifics of why he left, but Alan Taylor will be taking his place in Season 2, not as a co-showrunner. Condal is sole showrunner now. As for Alan Taylor, he is a veteran Game of Thrones director. He last worked on it in Season 7 for the White Hunt stuff, but I've seen other work he's done where he is really good. He is a established, credible director. It's just that Benioff and Weiss, like everyone else, would force him to do stupid things. Like, I don't blame Sapochnik for the screen darkness in the Long Night Battle, because we know from sources in the behind-the-scenes stuff, the showrunners insisted on that and micromanaged everyone. And like that the VFX people, the cinematographers were going, it's too dark. And they said, make it darker. So Alan Taylor, it's that thing where when the plot line of the White Hunt made no sense, he would shoot back in interviews, it's a dragon the size of a jet. It doesn't need to be realistic. When, yeah, you're breaking your own established story rules, and this probably means it doesn't have the real story of the books either. But that was probably just, I don't envy him, the position he's in. Of, dude, you're supposed to know to say, I didn't write it, ask the writers. In terms of the camera work, he's competent. I don't blame him for that. But I can't get a feel for Alan Taylor, whether he's, is someone a Benioff and Weiss supporter, or we like to hope that they're grudgingly suffering under them. But then there's other ones who are like, this is a paycheck to me, I don't care about it artistically. I don't know. One thing that's odd, though, is Alan Taylor is not just a veteran on, since Season 7. He worked on Season 1. Which is interesting because he knows where the bodies are buried. If you're not from English-speaking country, that's an idiom that he has been around since the beginning, since Season 1, when this show didn't have that aura around it of this is a hit Emmy-level show. If you join the show in Season 5, you don't question Benioff and Weiss because they're these Emmy-winning showrunners. You don't think they're idiots behind the scenes. And the whole argument on my channel is they were figureheads. And HBO actively hid from us how incompetent they were. And the proof of that is everything we later found out about the failed pilot. That it wasn't just, it's one of those things, it's a random fluke. It's like cited quotes we have from other behind-the-scenes things that came out later. This was the world's most expensive film school. That's a phrase they reuse as a joke to try to wave it off, that you don't know how cameras work. That there's this quote where Benioff said, I didn't know what the term camera coverage meant, which is the basic term for coverage is making sure that the camera is covering pointed at every actor who needs to have a reaction shot. And it's this bizarre quote where he says, rather than reveal my ignorance by asking someone what does camera coverage mean, I just sort of faked my way through it and would nod at them. And this is really a microcosm of how the whole show worked. He didn't know what he was doing, but rather than admit he didn't know, he would just pretend and go along with it. So, like, Season 2 onwards, people went, well, it's the hit Season 1 show, but Season 1, and they talk about this in Hibbard's book, the Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon thing, HBO thought Season 1 would fail, and they were just burning off the episodes. Why did it succeed? Because it's a good book. And because everyone around them worked twice as hard to get it done. I mean, even from just a production standpoint, these two guys who said, I have no idea how to make this as a show, didn't instantly learn after a single episode. And then these same mistakes they made later on, they happened again in the later seasons because as they got more confident, they stopped listening to the directors who were propping them up in the first place. So the weirdest thing is, like, I think of, like, interviews like Esme Bianco and stuff in Hibbard's book saying it was like this drunken party. No one knew what they were doing. That Alan Taylor was there in season 1 when they were asking, like, basic filming questions. He knows as much as anyone. A season 1 director would know just how crazy things really were behind the scenes on this show. Because after that, anyone who joined in a later season would think they're misunderstood geniuses. Like, he's like, no, I had no faith in them. So I can't get a read on whether Alan Taylor is, in it for the art or for the paycheck, because he's defended them through season 7. Then again, so did Sapochnik. I don't know. All that was just preamble, though, that we knew that Alan Taylor was returning. One thing Redanian did correct was in their initial report, they said they thought he was coming back for 4 episodes, which is a lot. They've officially retracted that. They said, we're sorry, we accidentally repeated that from a different article. We don't know how many episodes he's doing. The way they did it in season 1 on season 1 is 3 directors did 3 apiece. Then episode 8 was so complicated, but it was also like the best episode of the season, that they gave it just to Geeta Patel. Which brings me to the real surprise of this, that moving on to the actual news now, Redanian says that Geeta Patel will return for season 2. Well, that's a pleasant surprise. I thought I saw her cinematographer mention they might not be coming back or something, but Geeta Patel, episode 8 director, will be coming back. She directed the really complicated, the throne room scene, the dinner scene, and the behind the scenes stuff. If you haven't seen that, there's all these complicated dolly shots she did they literally had to push a crane through the window of the castle set to get these shots that they couldn't normally get. It was just interesting how much thought she put into it. She has a lot of interesting things to say in the behind-the-scenes video, in the interview she gave with their podcast. I liked Geeta Patel's work. So, pleasant surprise, Geeta Patel will apparently be returning for season 2. The other news, but not as big as this, is Clare Kilner is also going to return for season 2, according to Redanian's report, but we kind of already knew that because, like, back in November or something, I personally asked Clare Kilner over her Instagram in the comment section, do you think you're returning for season 2? And she said, yeah, at this point I think I'm coming back. And, obviously that's subject to change based on scheduling offers from other TV shows, you never know. And again, this is an advanced report from Redanian Intelligence. Nothing is confirmed. But we're like 90% that Clare Kilner is going to come back. And she was really my favorite director on season 1. Again, it's luck of the draw, the episodes she did. But she did episode 4 with all of the Rhaenyra going out and having her Aladdin trip and her love trysts and getting the female gaze right. The really elaborate wedding stuff, which watching behind the scenes, that was really hard to do for episode 5. And episode 9, she also did a lot of the city stuff again, with like the child fight ring and everything. Like, she's the only 2 episodes really deal with the city of King's Landing with the commoners outside of the Red Keep, and she filmed both of those episodes, 4 and 9. So, Clare Kilner's back. You'd see her doing a lot of stuff in, like, Caceres, the external scenes of King's Landing. Really looking forward to that. She's really I liked her interviews where she was talking about what she was trying to do. So, Clare Kilner, we had already heard her say, I think I'm coming back. The surprise here is that Geeta Patel will also be coming back. Final news of this is the 4th and last director slot. Someone who is leaving. I was surprised that apparently Greg Yaitanes will not be returning to work in season 2. He directed, episode 2 they shoved on him at the last minute, but episode 3 he did the Royal Hunt, and then he did the finale with the Vagar versus Arak stuff, where he said, I'm basically, copying Jurassic Park as she's rising up in the rain when he comes to Storm's End, and then she's gone. Oh no, where is she? Because he can't see her, and that he planned out the dragon fight using action figures and his iPhone to just basic blocking of how are we trying to film this. He did a really good job, and I've liked him since years ago, almost 20 years ago, he directed the Sci-Fi Channel adaptation Children of Dune. It's adapting the 2nd and 3rd books in the Dune Chronicles, and you're a big Dune fan, and just, oh, that was you! So, he's done a lot of other stuff since then. but it doesn't seem Yaitanis will be returning. And I asked Redanian Intelligence, are you sure? And they responded to me over social media. They pointed out that based on his schedule, it looks like he's filming other stuff in the middle of this year. That this is all public. This is listed that he's working on a show for Apple TV called Presumed Innocent. He's one of only 2 directors on it, and he will be filming through July. So odds are that based on what we can now see as his work schedule, Greg Yaitanis will not be returning for season 2. Who will be taking his place? I was worried for a bit. It's a man called Lonnie Perister, who, this makes sense when you look at his background. He's collaborated with Yaitanis on a lot of stuff. Perister, he directed a lot of episodes for Cinemax's Banshee, which instantly raised my things there, because Yaitanis is also a veteran director on Banshee. It's a crime drama. So he was he collaborated with, he was another one of the episode directors on a show that Yaitanis worked on for many years. So, and on their Instagram, just checking now, you see that they're friends in real life, that there's pictures of them posing for stuff. They worked on the same shows for a long time. So this new guy who is replacing Yaitanis has Yaitanis' seal of approval. I don't think Yaitanis left. Like, on the run of Game of Thrones, sometimes directors would leave to work on other projects, then come back. Tying this in at the beginning, like Alan Taylor left in the middle of the show to do Marvel movies, then came back like in season 6 and 7. So, people come in, come out, sometimes they miss a season, but they'll come back later, so don't, never say never. But Yaitanis, it looks like he got picked up for a high-profile Apple TV Plus project. But in his place is a director who's a friend of his, seal of approval, worked with him on Banshee, also worked on American Horror Story, and right before they shut down Cinemax, he also worked on this martial arts Chinatown, the gangs, the Tongs show set in the 1870s. It's called Warrior. But he's a veteran, experienced director on a lot of Cinemax projects for decades, worked closely with Yaitanis before on other projects. So that isn't, oh no, it's this shocking new person we never heard of before. He seems like a solid director from what I can see from his profile and his relationship with Yaitanis. This once again would mean that out of 4 directors, half are women. And it's the same ones. And because Patel is returning, it also means that, wow, we have a person of color is again behind the camera. There was never a non-white director on Game of Thrones. And they never had a female director after season 4, which was in... To be honest, I had done a video on this where, like, they did have one of their cinematographers, Annette Halmig, was a woman. Then after season 6, she left. So the last 2 seasons of the biggest show ever, there were no women behind the camera in any capacity as writers, directors, cinematographers. And no one remarked on it. And it didn't upset me that, yeah, they're doing, not just that they were doing that, but news sites who I would see criticizing other shows for not having enough female directors. Specific reporters who would call out shows for, you don't have enough women directors on this, would just fall silent when it came to season 7 and 8. They kept their mouths shut because they wanted access to the interviews. They didn't care. That they betrayed their own principles like that you don't call them out for what is going on behind the camera, and not only that you are being actively criticized, you don't know how to film or direct women, the sex scenes are gratuitous, and you don't have any female directors. It adds to the criticism. So, Patel's episode was the best of the season, episode 8. Let's see what she does with more material to judge her by, but she had made very good decisions in that. I'm, of course, very excited about Clare Kilner returning. And, of course, that we should have heard about this, weeks ago, that it is March 1st, and I'm just now starting to see rumors of the directors working on season 2. I don't know what their production schedule is, or if they're keeping it closer to the vest this time, but things are starting to fall in place now that we have a list of the 4 directors for season 2. I'm not sure when we'll get an episode-by-episode schedule for which director is doing which one. Even in season 1, we only figured that out by, like, summer, who was directing which one. Leaks came out about it. So please like and subscribe. Behind the scenes filming. This is the proto level 0 filming news report that we're starting to get directors. Then we'll get another report on the cinematographer that for this director was sighted in Cornwall. And things are going to start picking up in the next week or two. So I'll report as I learn about it. This is all preliminary. This isn't entirely confirmed. But from Redanian, it seems very likely. And the scheduling thing with Yaitanis seems to line up with that he will not be returning. Cutting in here, this is me again. I had to record a new ending. Like I said, this is a fluid situation. It isn't confirmed. It's just the first news on directors coming out from Redanian intelligence, a reliable source. Right after I recorded that, as I was editing this together, it's Sunday afternoon, I want to have something out now, before the situation changes again. Right after that announcement came out, everyone noticed that IMDb updated its episode list just for episode 2.6, episode 6 of season 2, and it listed a 5th entirely new director. Andrei Perek, who is a veteran director who did 4 episodes of HBO's Succession, one of which he won an Emmy Award for Best Director. So this is one of the core stable of really good veteran HBO directors we're getting, because, as it turns out, the current season of Succession, which is premiering this month, will be its last. We all thought there'd be a 5th season, but they said, no, we're going quality over quantity. Season 4 is the last season. Therefore, this director's schedule was open to work on another HBO show. He also did an episode of Watchmen, their Watchmen show, so that worked out. And sometimes IMDb makes mistakes, but I usually take that as proof that he seems to be doing episode 2.6. Sometimes they accidentally put stuff out. Would this mean there are now 5 directors that we know Taylor's in, probably Kilner and Patel? These other 2, well, Redanian still thinks Perister's in there, I don't know. Many seasons on Game of Thrones, when there were 10 episodes, they'd assign 2 episodes per director for 5 directors, so they could just as easily do that and have 5 separate directors. I'm going to make updates to this as we get them, you understand. So that's the situation as it stands right now. Also, turns out Matt Smith just said filming starts April 12th, not March 6th, which makes sense that even 1 month out of filming, the filming is 6 weeks from now, we would have normally found out the directors before that figuring out who's directing what. This will all probably come into focus by mid-April as we see directors walking around on set. But fluid situation, keep checking back. As I said, new stuff is coming out on a daily basis to the point I had to record a new ending for this, so check back frequently. We are back in the news cycle.